Palantir opens the hood and reveals the internal workings while also stepping up this week with partnerships and more news as well with the wild ride for the stock. So, looking at the price action first, Palantir broke into the 2850 strongly this week, hitting a 52-week high, with some macro pressures actually immediately pushing it back down. But eventually, we close out the week to settle. Now, price action wise, resistance and volatility is not a surprise at these levels, at least from the recent history we've seen. And no one knows for sure, of course, what will happen exactly when trying to time the market. So, whatever your allocation or risk profile is, make sure it's what you're personally ready for. Especially for times like this, everyone's got their own 2 cents and opinions on what Palantir's price should and could do, especially when we talk about its justified fair value and narrative around it. But you just got to do what's best for yourself in these cases. But I'm curious, though, to know in the comments if this price action this week has had any effect on you to do something or not. Now, opening the week news-wise, we get a surprising announcement with Palantir's Athenia partnership with ASNA in the semiconductor space. Note, Athenia is a semiconductor manufacturing platform built in collaboration with Merck and Palantir. Now, we haven't heard too much specifics around this lately, around Athenia, so it's great to hear it being brought up in current news. And well, it's no secret, semiconductors are increasingly important in the supply chain around the globe, so it's reliant on this technology here to be as speed as possible. So it's crucial that these partnerships are successful for ASNA to improve their yield and reliability. Now, the most important point, though, of this platform isn't just ASNA making better decisions with their own data, but the full view picture that can become available for the full life cycle of components and subcomponents involved in the manufacturing process for these semiconductors. So it really is a compounding process once you start to build up players using Athenia and get that availability of data on the upstream as well as the downstream, and that's to improve efficiency overall, which in turn should attract more industry partners but make it a better wheel that keeps on getting better. So we'll see if that actually plays out. Then we've got a couple SEC filings from Palantir selling off Rubicon shares. We actually get a decent number of transactions, albeit they are very small in the grand scheme of things when you look at their total holdings of over 10 million shares. Plus, the share price is only around a dime per share, so dollar-wise, it doesn't seem to be the main motivator here for these sales. So it's more of a fun fact in my opinion and just negligible to the whole story of Palantir, but we'll keep a lookout to see when they keep more heavily offloading all these shares, considering it's still about $1 million at least for the current share price. But it wouldn't be surprising that apparently Rubicon share would crash immediately if they sold all of these at once. Then we got a big announcement that Palantir and Oracle are officially announcing the unlocking of the launch of Palantir on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. Now, as a cloud hyperscaler that hosts Palantir alongside all the other big ones, well-known names like Microsoft Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud, it's another crucial highway for Palantir to keep making its way to a wider customer base. Now, another cool tidbit, though, added on by Chad is that for those big customers on these cloud providers, there's people who have committed compute. So reaching that can still be done through using Palantir on their cloud provider. So it's not necessarily an added cost or wasted use of compute, as long as they can get the value out of it. So nothing, of course, is still guaranteed, but having Palantir available on a major provider like Oracle is no small feat, especially when focusing on the security side of things. Then we've got another hot topic, blog posts around artificial intelligence hallucinations. Now, for those familiar with Palantir's product offerings, know about the ontology, which essentially is the full picture of an organization from its data silos all tied together, as well as the processes, and then reflecting that true relationship between everything. Now, it really comes down to getting trusted data to train large language models, hence the ontology. Now, the challenges, though, at an enterprise is, are we certain about the data that we're exposing to the LLMs, and is it secure for us to do so, which Palantir is solving? But also, we're actually going to yield the results that are usable and available to us now that we've got it. And that's why Palantir is crucial for controlling these hallucinations, and it's not just a one-size-fits-all for the ontology, but rather supplementing this too with logic functions and human review, which is part of the Palantir way for bringing full context to the data. So hopefully this catches some organizations' eyes to give them a chance. Then we've got a small insider sale. The only significance here, though, is that it's the first that we've seen at a recent price action at these levels. Eric Woshing sold around 3,000 shares in the $27 range, so obviously not a big enough transaction to really draw attention or move the stock. However, a little later for after hours on Friday, we get a new SEC filing showing another $1 million of shares sold by Alexander D. Moore, who actually got some of the recent highs selling around the 2780s for the majority of shares, but did get those 500 sold at the 2840s. But some folks are speculating around if this is just the start of it, Or maybe it's a subtle sign from management with the lack of selling that there could be something brewing for earnings. But as mentioned, that's all speculation. Then we get a cool piece of marketing from Palantir on the Manufacturing Alliance's June 2024 report on AI use cases. Eaton, a Palantir customer, shared an example of Palantir and how it can help with alternative materials to fulfill an order. They gave an example where their AI agents can essentially seek out alternative ways to fulfill an order where you have a bunch of 10-foot rods but need an 8-foot rod. Obviously, you can cut off the 2 feet for the amount you need, but the idea is that you are coordinating multiple ERP systems, which means multiple locations, inventories at each, as well as the relationship to the order with many other variables working. Then, Palantir's got to step in to simplify it even more to catch the attention on why would you let $50 of material stop a $1 million order. So it's always great to have the marketing for Palantir when it doesn't actually come from them directly and gives it that slightly higher probability of funneling in more customers who can resonate with the use cases that are the same as Eaton's. Palantir also doubles down on its response to the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, regarding responsible procurement of AI in government. As we're familiar with, Palantir continues to emphasize its commitment to providing essential software platforms that enable responsible and effective use of data by these institutions. And Palantir is advocating for responsible AI technology procurement while adhering to high standards that ensure this reliable mission impact. So Palantir's input aligns with the 2023 Executive Order on Safe, Secure, and Trustworthy AI, which follows Palantir's previous contributions to RFIs and RFCs from various federal agencies. And the RFI addresses modifications in federal procurement practices to better incorporate AI technology. So Palantir is going to suggest the following: avoiding one-size-fits-all evaluations, verifying software functionality before purchase, procuring commercial software solutions over developing in-house, promoting best practices in software procurement, including interoperability and ongoing system monitoring. So all of these, of course, fits with Palantir's way of doing business with the government and, of course, would be a slight advantage. And they close out the blog post reflecting the emerging AI practices, promoting competition, and ensuring responsible AI use overall. So we'll see if these efforts will pay off eventually over the long term for Palantir's government business. Then Palantir posted a video on their YouTube channel with a familiar face Chad who has a conversation with Palantir CTO Jim Siders, who actually started as a temp contractor a long time ago since 2013 and really focuses on the internal workflows of the company today. And really, they go to show some of the internal strength they have built up when someone rises literally from the bottom to the C-suite, and the conversation really focuses on the story of Palantir at this firsthand account. Because how is a company who is saying that they have the best software for years and is ahead of their competitors are using the software themselves internally? And a lot of it kind of resonates too with the same struggles other companies went through during the cloud and big data world ramping up. But essentially, Palantir started building out the ontology because they wanted to use SaaS products themselves in a way that works for their business, and eventually came up with an internal suite of tools as well that serves those needs. They then also discussed some examples like taking a 12-hour finance process to only 5 to 7 minutes, to even their people operations building their own and offboarding tool that actually met their internal governance. But the big thing here is that Palantir is not only amazing for their customers, but they use it for themselves, walking the talk. But I won't steal the thunder, so check it out when you have a chance for the full video. But what are your thoughts still below? And I'll see you in the next video.